Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 11 4 key game picks. Quick thoughts, very quick thoughts from week number 10. Got to start with the New England Patriots here. I think it's safe to say that most of us here that are NFL fans that the New England Patriots are pretty much the dominant team now in the AFC conference. I don't know if they're the dominant team this season, the entire league itself, but there's no question that the New England Patriots are back. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, but what about their defense? And I think a lot of us have criticized their defense all season long, but even despite the injuries that they have, it is very difficult to say if anybody in the AFC is going to stop them. Well, look, they still have some key matchups coming up, and the only other key matchup they have the rest of their schedule, other than just divisional opponents, is really the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I have to be completely honest here. Even if somehow Pittsburgh makes a run of their own, I just don't see them getting past the New England Patriots. It's just difficult to say how any team in the AFC conference will compete with the Patriots. And it's not really that much of a surprise. I mean, I'm one of the many people that said, you just can't count out New England here because they do know how to win. And as much as we count them out, they come back and win. And it's very difficult to say, especially those who hate the Patriots, me being one of them. But let's be mindful. I mean, this team is, like I said, the personnel that they have on an entire franchise, they're the reason why they keep winning, other than Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, receivers that Brady knows how to throw them to, and despite their lack of defense, yet they're still winning. And it's very difficult. I think it's going to be, I don't think it matters who they play the rest of the way into the playoffs. I just don't see anybody stopping them. I mean, look, I'm going to be completely honest here. I mean, as much as I don't want to see them win another Super Bowl, but and normally I don't like showing my bias here, but I hate to say, but they're on their way to winning another Super Bowl. I just don't see anybody in the NFL stopping them. Other thoughts, I think my other thoughts go to the Cowboys here. The suspension of Ezekiel Elliott has been resurrected, and now that Ezekiel Elliott now is going to have to miss a lot of these remaining games until December, when his suspension will be up. And a lot of it was shown in the game last week with the Cowboys and the Falcons. The Cowboys just had a difficult time putting up any offense last week against the Falcons. And the lack of running game has really, really given Prescott a ton of problems. I mean, with Ezekiel Elliott there in the backfield, it really made Prescott's job very, very simple. But you could pretty much say the Cowboys' time for them to at least make a wild card spot is running out. I mean, we're in week 11. We're down to the final 6 weeks of the regular season, and especially you got divisional games coming up, especially two of them against a very tough Philadelphia Eagles team, and that is going to be one of the key games I will talk about a little bit later on in the video. It's going to be tough for Dallas to really make a run here if they want to assure themselves a playoff berth. But other than that, if I see the dominance of these other teams, the Rams are still only have 2 losses. Teams like the Rams and, of course, the Vikings, they're still playing at a high level right now. But it'll be interesting what happens down the stretch. Now, the last thought I want to bring up is really Seattle. They really losing Richard Sherman, and that is really tough on their defense. Seattle may have blown their chances now to make the postseason. But, I mean, they still have the offense, but I think their defense now took a huge hit with Sherman going down. And I know a lot of people everybody has their thoughts on Thursday Night Football, and I'm going to personally say this on a very, very quick note here. I really think the Thursday night games need to stop. I really do, because it is taking a toll on the players. It is throwing off every football player's mentality and routine. I really think these games really need to stop. The problem is, though, I'm pretty sure that a lot of football analysts and everybody else said the part of it is that these Thursday night games were in the bargaining agreement for the players' union, and I think to me the players kind of hurt themselves. I know it's money, but their health now has taken a hit. And I really think now that these Thursday night games, I think, need to stop. I really think so. I mean, this season really hasn't been that many good games this year on Thursday night. Anyways, enough rambling on here. I really need to get to these picks here. So why don't we begin with key game number 1? We got a big one here for this one. We got the Rams and the Vikings. A lot of us are saying, well, the big surprise is the Rams, and I agree. I mean, the Rams are on a high level here. I mean, they did a number on the Texans last week, and the week before that, they really destroyed the Giants. I mean, this team right now, I mean, offensively, they cannot be playing at a high level as I've ever seen a team that 1 year ago they were struggling, and this year now they're becoming one of the it's hard for me to say the elite teams because this Ram team is still pretty young and they still have a lot of things going on in that team that really are playing a factor here in terms of their offense. I don't really think their defense has been part of the reason why that team has been able to win games, but I do credit Goff and that offense. And speaking of Goff, last week he went 25 of 37, 3 touchdown passes for 355 yards. I mean, that's still impressive for a kid in his second year. And this is kind of really a big deal for the Rams and the Vikings. Well, for the Vikings, mostly Case and Keenum, because remember, Keenum was on the Rams last year, and then he went off to Minnesota after that. And Keenum last week, I mean, the Vikings offense, they did struggle. I mean, the Redskins made it a game. I mean, the Vikings only won by 8 points. Keenum going 21 of 29, 304 yards, 4 touchdown passes, but he was intercepted twice in that game. This game's going to be a little bit different. This one, I expect the grind here. I think this may be the game of the week right here. Expect a very good game between these two teams, and it should be a barn burner. I think this game's going to go back and forth here, the way both offenses are playing right now. Both offenses cannot be at a very high level as they are playing right now. Both teams are in first place, and obviously supremacy in the NFC really is on the line in this game, and I think a lot of it is on Case and Keenum because he would love nothing more to beat his former team. Tough pick here. Very tough pick here. Both offenses are evenly matched. Defense-wise, the Rams may have a slight edge on that. But you can't count out what Minnesota's defense has done. They've really done a great job of holding offenses at bay all season. This is not a sure pick here. This is really a tough pick. The odds in this game, the odds makers have the Vikings a 2.5-point favorite in this one. Expect that number to go down to probably 2, maybe even a 1.5. Both teams are about as evenly matched as they can be on both sides of the ball. Tough pick here, but I smell an upset. I smell an upset in this game. I think the Rams are going to go to Minnesota, and they're going to beat them in a very close game. I just think the Rams' offense seems to me more intact than Minnesota's is. Case and Keenum has had a lot. I mean, the turnovers for him are quite high. They're pretty high this year, despite the fact he's done a great job with that Minnesota Viking offense. But and that is why I'm going to pick the Rams here. I think to me the Rams will go in there at a very high pace. This probably may be my upset pick of the week here. The way the Rams offense is playing, I like them in this game. And that's why I'm going to stick with the Rams here. I'm going to pick the Rams in this game here. I'm going to Rams over the Vikings. Key game number 2. It is the Patriots and the Raiders. Keep in mind this game is in Mexico City. The Patriots are a 6.5-point favorite, and I do agree with that. I absolutely agree. Brady last week in a big win over the Broncos. He went 25-34, 266 yards, and 3 touchdown passes. Really, a lot of it, and part of it also, defense played a role in scoring as well. I mean, this, like I said, the Patriots cannot be playing at any more high level than they've been all season, despite injuries and a pretty much average defense. This game right now is very important really to the Raiders. The Raiders need this game badly right now in order to keep pace with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Raiders were on their bye last week. Derek Carr in his game last week and 2 weeks ago against the Dolphins, 21 of 30, 300 yards, and 1 touchdown pass and 1 interception. The Raiders are going to have to really play on a much higher level if they even want a chance to beat the Raiders here. To beat the Patriots here. Ugh, forgive my stuttering here. Yeah, the Raiders need this game badly right now to keep pace, not only just for the division itself, but also for wild card berth. But New England's offense is just too much for the Raiders to handle here. And there's no question, this is pretty much an easy pick here. You got to go with the Patriots in this game. Oakland, if they somehow make it a game, that's good on their part, but I just don't see it happening here. The Patriots have too much of a good offense. The Raiders' defense really is really below average, and they've really given up a lot of points. They really need to get the turnovers up in order to even have a chance to beat the Patriots. I don't see it happening in this game. I like the Patriots here. It's pretty much an easy pick here. Patriots over the Raiders. Key game number 3, big one in the NFC East. It is the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite in this game. The Eagles were on their bye week last week. Wentz 2 weeks ago went 15 of 27, 199 yards, and 4 touchdown passes. They were playing the Broncos 2 weeks ago, and they really had a field day with the Broncos here. Carson Wentz really had to do much in that game. A lot of it was the running game and some turnovers. So yeah, the Eagles are playing at a high level. Obviously, they pretty much control their own destiny, not just in the NFC East, but the overall number 1 seed in the NFC Conference. Dallas needs this game badly. They really need this game badly if they even want a chance to even make the division, the NFC East, more interesting, let alone a wild card spot. Prescott last week, 20 of 30, 176 yards, no touchdown passes. Dallas last week got blown out by Atlanta. They really did not show up last week, and obviously with the missing presence of Ezekiel Elliott, it's really killing the running game. And it's making matters worse. The Cowboys got these games coming up are at home, especially the one after this is the Thanksgiving game against the Chargers. So really right now, Dallas' offense needs to really get it going if they even want a chance to beat the Eagles here. This is why this is another sure pick here. This is a pretty sure pick here. You got to go with the Philadelphia Eagles here. The Eagles' offense is too much for Dallas to handle. Dallas does have some defense problems here, but their offense really is the one that's got to make it a game. Otherwise, Philadelphia is going to run over them. And I see pretty much Philly winning this game. I think they win big here. There's a chance it'll be a close game, but I think the Eagles pull away in the second half. I like the Eagles in this one. I don't see Dallas offense even if they're having the troubles in the running game. That's why I'm going with the Eagles here. This is pretty sure pick here. Eagles over the Cowboys. And finally, key game number 4, the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks. Big game for both these teams. Not just in their respective divisions, but also for wild card spot. Atlanta last week in a big win over the Cowboys last week. Matty Ice went 22 of 29, 215 yards, 2 touchdown passes, but he was picked off once in the game last week against the Cowboys. Their offense really finally got it together against the Cowboys in the way that Cowboys offense had struggled. Now for Seattle. Now Wilson and their offense is going to have to really provide help. Really provide some ease for their defense, because without Richard Sherman in the defensive backfield, the Seahawks are in trouble. They're in trouble if they have no defense here. Now, Seattle is actually a favorite in this game by 3 points, but no question, I expect that number to get much lower. 2, maybe 1. Wilson last week went 22 of 32, 238 yards, and 2 touchdown passes. Despite very injured-prone game against the Cardinals last week. It's really a tough pick here, because both offenses are evenly matched, but Atlanta's got the edge on defense. It's really a tough pick here. I'm not sure of this pick, but I'm going to stick with the home team here. I think the Seahawks, I think, will win this game, but expect a very, very, very close game. I'm going to pick the Seahawks here. I know a lot of you are going to say, but what about the Falcons look like more of a favorite than the Seahawks? I do agree with a lot of you on that. But Seattle does play very good at home. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, they did lose to the Redskins. Yes, they do have some hiccups, but they're home. But Seattle is good at home. And the last place you want to play your game, you want to play and the last thing you want to play the Seahawks is in their building. And and you give them the home field advantage here. This is why I'm picking the Seahawks, because of home field advantage. Seattle's a very loud stadium, and the Falcons really have to work out the kinks and work out how to deal with the loud noise in that stadium. But don't get me wrong. Expect a very close game here. It will go down to the wire into the second half. It'll definitely be determined in the fourth quarter here. And this is why I will pick the Seahawks here. This is not a sure pick here. Very, very close game to be expected. It should be a good one here. And I'm going to stick with that pick. I think the Seahawks will barely beat the Falcons here, but it should be a good game next Sunday. Seahawks over the Falcons. All right, everybody, that wraps up my picks for week number 11. Check out the sportblog.blogspot.com for all of my week 11 picks. And until then, guys, I will see you all next week for my Thanksgiving edition of my week 12 4 key game picks. Until then, everybody, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the football games on Sunday, and I'll see you all next week.